people have said like, well, doesn't Amazon sell more if if you're a 1P vendor? And in my experience, the answer is no, because you still have to drive demand. Amazon doesn't sell the product, people buy the product, right? So
hmm
are there a few merchandising locations that maybe only go to 1P sellers? I'd say that's probably true, but I don't think it's impactful enough to put it into your decision making. Like at the end of the day, if you can get someone to pick it up off the shelf and buy it, that's how you win.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Creative That Converts. I'm your host, Michael Arking. Today, I'm super excited to be joined by Bryson Buck. Bryson is a Senior Director of Operations and Client Success at Market Performance Group, leading e-commerce client success and account management teams overseeing almost $2 billion in Amazon revenue across most CPG categories that you know. Bryson actually was an accountant. In his past history, he found his passion for sales and marketing and strategy moving from accounting to CPG sales, and now he works for MPG for 4.5 years. Fun fact about Bryson, if you've ever buy sliced meat or cheese from Amazon Fresh, it's likely that Bryson was likely to be the one that created that listing. He was actually trained the Amazon folks how to slice their meat in their stores and fulfillment centers. Thanks for joining us today. Actually, thanks for joining us today, Bryson.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Wonderful to have you. Today, we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to be talking about using subscription models to drive repeat purchases on Amazon. We're going to talk about the difference between 1P and versus 3P, which is better. A little hint there. Both have their advantages and disadvantages. And we're going to talk about annual vendor negotiations, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and what Amazon is really looking for when they send out those negotiation kickoff emails. Great to have you here, Bryson. Before we get into that, I'd certainly love to hear a little bit about how you arrived at MPG, some of your background to share with everybody joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for having me on. Super excited to have a chat today. But I had a relatively unique experience making my way into the brokerage and consulting world of e-commerce. Like you mentioned, started off as an accountant. When I went to the University of Oregon, go Ducks, they had two business degrees. It was accounting or business administration. And, everyone that I knew was going to get their business administration degree. So I said, hey, I'm going to be different. I'm going to do accounting. I was also the math nerd that took calculus as an elective in college. And so thought numbers would be a good idea. That was also right at the same time that the Enron scandal happened. And I knew that if I was going to be a CEO someday, because of Sarbanes-Oxley, I was going to need to sign financial documents. So went into the accounting program, never wanted my CPA, never got my CPA, and ended up as an accountant at a small landscape architecture firm, actually right out of college. '08 market crash happened, and I was one of many, many accountants looking for jobs. So what do you do with a business degree and nowhere to go? You go into sales because there's always sales jobs, right? So I sold everything from from cruises to, I worked at Royal Caribbean for a couple of years. I sold Medicare supplement insurance. Sold life and health insurance. And I worked at a memory care facility, reselling the building as they built it up, assisted living and memory care. So I landed at Royal Caribbean, worked there for a few years, and then finally got my first job in CPG, working for a startup oatmeal company called Umpqua Oats. That was great. Working at a startup, you wear 100 hats. I was everything from the in-house IT guy, managed our website team, and then did specialty sales into specialty coffee shops. I did food service sales into FSA and Cisco. I did micro market and micro market sales to like Vistar and Airmark. And anyway, one day they said, hey, we're selling on Amazon. How's that possible? And sent me off on my Amazon adventure. Hired a small broker. They taught me the very basics of selling on Amazon. And I was kind of off to the races and realized that that's, really where my passion was. From there, it was a short trip over to Dietz and Watson. Like you mentioned, it was we were exclusively Amazon Fresh before there was an Amazon Fresh grocery delivery, selling into the little Amazon Go convenience stores. You know, the convenience stores.
Sure.
We only
Sure.
had about 10 or 12 SKUs. There was only like 10 places we shipped to because Amazon was just kind of testing out grocery. And then Amazon had this project they called Project Bananas, which is where they retrofit over 50 of their fulfillment centers to have refrigerator capabilities. And so from, I think it was 2017 to 2018, we went from $2 to $3 million a year in packaged meats to, a couple of years later, over $30 million in national sales with 58 ship to locations, and Amazon's opening their first, real grocery store. So
Wow.
over that time frame, it was pretty cool. When Amazon actually wants something from you, they kind of let you see the Wizard of Oz peek behind the curtain, right? And so got to go visit Amazon's home office a bunch of times, have meetings in there, got to stand in the very first Amazon grocery store, Amazon Fresh store in Woodland Hills, California, when it was just a big warehouse. If you've ever signed an NDA with Amazon, it is one of the scariest documents you'll ever sign in your life. Come after your
Don't share
family.
anything that's in the NDA
No,
on
I'm
this
just no. It was
podcast.
just they didn't want anyone to know they were building grocery stores until
Right.
they announced it, and so they wanted the store, set up and the planogram made, and their people to be trained on how, for my part, how to slice meat or how to slice cheese or what each type is, why you would do a different thickness, all the different things to make their deli people know what they were talking about. We had to do in the store well before it was even a grocery store. It was just a big blank warehouse. But anyway,
Well,
oh,
it's
go ahead.
great you have this diverse sort of background and then, you're so multifaceted, as I said before, especially you come out of accounting, right? You've moved into Amazon, you've been involved with CPG, you've got kind of this digital background, you've got the numbers background, the P&L type of background. I think it's just an amazing skill set to have, especially in the position that you're in today. And I think there's a lot you can share with our audience today that will be helpful with all your background, especially managing $2 billion worth of business across Amazon. It's a pretty considerable amount. So let's get into some of these topics that we're going to talk about. So first, we talked about subscription models to drive repeat purchases on Amazon. That's a huge part of a lot of the brand's business. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Actually, one of our account managers today asked me a question that I think is pretty relevant. They said, "Hey, I'm working with a supplement brand. What's an appropriate percentage of my total sales that should be in in the subscription bucket?" And I think for any product that's consumable and repeatable, there should be some sort of subscription program. For nutritional supplements specifically, that's, high use, usually 1 month supplies people are getting. My answer to him was between 35 and 40% would be the target. And there's above and below that, there's, negative connotations or opportunity for improvement. Above 40% as a supplement tells me that you're probably not filling your new to brand, new to product customer funnel enough, and your subscription model is taking over too high of a percentage of your sales because you're not getting enough new people, and that percentage is creeping up. And then conversely, if you're below your target percentage, whatever that may be, in this case, 40%. If you're too low, say 15%, that means that you're not driving enough of your new customers into your subscription bucket. And one thing that Amazon's done a really good job of lately is helping people identify the lifetime value of their customer. For almost every client that I touch, LTV of a subscription customer is at least 50% more. It's usually in the 2 to 2.5 times range, lifetime value. And actually, Amazon provides it as a 2 year value, not a lifetime value. So just in a 2 year window, the metrics show that a subscription customer is worth anywhere between 50% to one client, 6x, you get them in there, right? Um, so it is extremely important to have some sort of subscription model built, if for nothing else. because that customer is worth so much more to you than not.
Is there an incentive that you recommend that people should use to get
Yeah,
them the subscription? Is it a price incentive? Is there a sort of other benefits?
yeah. I mean, so Amazon's basic setup is you get to choose whether what tier, what discount you want to give for them signing up, right? And for all of us, if we just go on to Amazon and sign up for a subscription for something, it'll either be 0, 5, 10, or 15% discount for being a subscriber. And it's actually tiered. Little known fact for those of you Amazon subscribers, if you subscribe to a lot of things, you want to try to align your, this is a customer tip, not a
Right,
brand tip, but if you want
right,
to align your subscription deliveries, because if you have at least 5 subscription items being delivered at the same time, you get jumped up a tier in your total discount on those products. Me as a brand, I can set a 0%, 5% tier. So that'd be 0 if under 5,
right,
5 if over 5. And it's not 5 of my products, it's 5 any
right.
Amazon subscription items, right? The
So once
basic,
they get 5 together,
yeah. So if I get
any
5,
item that's subscription
right.
together,
Yeah. So if I subscribe to batteries, toiletries, dog food, cat food, and I don't know, Windex, right?
right,
I can make all those 5 show up to me on the same day. Then I get the better tier of percentage discount for my subscriptions each time. And the only time Amazon's paying that discount is if the brands aren't funding anything. That'd be the 0%, 5% range. Amazon will fund the 5% just to make people want to subscribe, right?
right, right.
But any other tier, it's either 510 or 1015 or 515, right? You can set your little your window yourself. That's step one. Is we always encourage people just get in the program. If your product's consumable, like
You think a
tip,
lot of people are missing out? Like, you think a lot of people or sellers are missing out on that, smaller sellers, or they don't understand it? I mean,
kind of
I
see
thought
it
it's
mixed.
fascinating what you said also about the if it's too high, that could be working against you, so that's a
Yeah, yeah, that's one thing that, people are always like, "Oh, we want more because that lifetime value is there, right?" But it's not necessarily a bad thing that, say 70% of your sales are subscription. But what it indicates is that you have a large opportunity on a product that obviously people love. Your customers are so loyal. You have 70% of your sales in subscriptions that you should be getting your product out there into more people's hands because
yeah,
it's
more
obviously,
sponsored display maybe, and more sponsored brand video and more ways to
yeah.
get cold traffic in, right? And more under consideration, middle of the
Exactly.
funnel.
Get more people up in the upper funnel
Mhm.
and away and smaller brands do spend a lot of their time in the lower funnel because it makes sense. That's where the money's to be made, right?
Right.
But if you're in a situation where 70% of your sales are subscription model, you're there's a lot of money left on the table. You just got to figure out how to get it out in front of people.
So it's a great indicator, basically, is
Yeah.
what we're seeing there. If you've got that 60, 70% in subscriptions, the idea there is it really is if you've got more opportunity and it start to work more on upper funnel than you have been before. And I think that's where sponsored display comes in handy, especially very inexpensive clicks and bringing in fresh customers right into the funnel.
Yeah, and I mean, when we're running like full funnel media for our clients, so we'll take a look at Google and Meta as well to see, where the highest value of that next dollar to be spent might be, because it may be Amazon in Seller Central. Amazon lets you see customer journey analytics and see where your customers are coming from. And we had one client just recently, we noticed that actually off-site was driving 80% of the traffic to their detail pages. So if we're going to go spend an extra, say, thousand, $10,000 a month, maybe we'll invest more in Google because it's driving so much traffic and it's valuable because that's where our conversions are coming from. So
With Amazon
definitely,
attribution, right? So that you're talking
yeah.
about we'll go back to Amazon a and is that working well for clients across social and Google back to Amazon, and what's been your experience there?
My you have to you have to give me a little bit of a break because I'm the sales guy, not the marketer. But I will
Mhm.
tell you that using Amazon attribution has been extremely helpful in identifying where those like best value buckets are. And in my experience, it's a little more limited than if you had like my marketing partner on the show today.
Right.
Would be would be that Meta typically is lower value, higher visibility, lower purchase value as far as like click through to purchase as
Yeah.
Google. Google, you get higher purchase intent people, but don't
Yeah.
get as many eyes on it. So Meta's higher up in the funnel, I guess is the moral of the story.
It's interesting. We saw with one of our clients on our end, because when I'm not running the podcast, I'm doing these kinds of videos, that they ran attribution from Meta videos back to Amazon and started seeing more brand awareness and more lift and better conversion. So that and the attribution didn't show as much, but they were having their biggest months. And they even had
Mm,
search terms that didn't even show up in Amazon previously before that actually started to come up. For instance, this was for prepackaged treats for dogs, like,
uh-huh.
individually packaged treats. And so that wasn't even on the radar. And then suddenly from the Meta ads coming back to Amazon, suddenly that particular search term was rising up in the ranks. It's
Well,
interesting.
that just shows you the value of a full funnel strategy, right? Because they're especially for a new product. Say, I mean, I've got a dog. She's 8 months, 9 months old now. I feed her individual treats all the time, and if I don't know about your brand until I see it on Facebook or Meta, I'm not gonna just go buy it. I'm gonna
Exactly.
see it, click on it, and then tell my wife about it, and then come back later and search for it on Amazon. Then probably buy
That's
it there. You know
exactly
what
what
I
we
mean?
saw.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
So I
And I'm
think that
seeing
just
more of it. Yeah, I'm seeing more brands that come in are looking at more like, okay, we need to bring more traffic back to Amazon. Of course, you get a 10% kickback if they
Mhm.
purchase or anything they put in their cart, but even more so, I think that those clicks are really lifting the sales and the brand awareness. And of course, you have to look at lifetime value, as you said before.
It's really muddying the waters in attribution, though, right? Because people are so used to shopping. What's the word I'm looking for? So used to clicking multiple times before purchasing now because you
Yes,
just think in your
yes.
cart or or you just go back to your previous searches. They make it so easy to come back to where you've
Mhm.
been. You don't have to buy it right now.
I
Uh,
think
yeah.
that's the direction where people are realizing that sort of awareness and brand is, we're kind of dialing back a little bit, right? We're so attached to like looking at that click, right? Direct click attribution.
Uh-huh.
If you really want to scale a brand, there comes a time where you have to have more of an open mind to say there is a journey here, right? And they're not necessarily, clicking and buying in that same instant. We've seen that with those brands. In that case, the one that I was talking about earlier about the individually packed treats, what's interesting is that we learned that people were using them for training their pets, and that became the very big hook. And so we sort of
Cool.
created a whole set of training videos, training related sort of UGC around that topic because it's easier to put in your pocket, right? And get your dog like when they're out. Like you don't want to have
Yeah.
kibble in your pocket, right? Or like some treat that's
Okay.
raw. So that was like sort of the learnings and kind of going deep into the creative on it.
Very cool. Yeah, I think I one thing you mentioned that I think is super important for especially fresher brands starting out is looking at you mentioned that you have to get away from looking at the click. And I see that as, people get so hyper focused on return on ad spend, right?
Mhm.
Where you could have a ROAS of 25, but you still be losing money
Right.
because it's like you got to zoom out and here's the accountant in me, but you have to look at the whole P&L and L and see what are you within your ad budget maybe for the quarter or for the year and look at it
Right.
more on a tacos ratio where it's like total advertising spend out of total sales rather than nitpicking about the ROAS of individual performance because I bet if you look back at the clicks and attributions for your meta campaign the ROAS or the ROI was terrible
Yeah.
but it drove high sales for that month. So
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly right, and I love that you're saying that because we see a lot of people so, like, locked into a 4-week cycle of, exactly every click and all the ROAS, and you're right, I think you do have to look at the quarter, you have to look at the year, you have to say, "Okay, is my advertising in line where it should be, and are we
uh-huh,
meeting our goals and growth?" And if you get, you know over focused, it can have a negative outcome for you,
100%.
right? Ultimately, because you're going to stunt growth and you're being too conservative. And that doesn't mean blow your money and not look at attribution. I think we're all very tied to performance and everything we look at. I mean, especially for us, like in video, right? Like in video was something that was never measured. Today, we're measuring video and variations and keyword variations, optimizations. These are things that were not done before. And then, of course, I know we're going to touch a little bit on AI. I know you're doing some things in AI as well, and I wanted to get into that and hear about some of the optimizations. I'm sure everybody wants to learn like how you're doing it at MPG and what you're looking at in terms of using AI as a lever.
Yeah, I mean, man, we could do a whole podcast series on AI, couldn't we? It's
We
been
might,
really
we might, we
wouldn't
might.
be a bad idea. Yeah, no, I mean, it's been an adventure. I mean, I've been doing this specific job essentially for the last 4.5 years, and just in that time frame, Amazon and being a client success manager has changed significantly. It's coming out of COVID; those were the glory years, right? Everyone was making money. Don't get me wrong, COVID was not the glory years,
Yeah, no, but
but
it was on the digital
e-commerce
side. It
e-commerce
was on
went
digital.
10
Yes,
years into the future in about
yes.
8 months. But everyone was doing great, but there's repercussions, right? We've had 2, 3 years of a lot more challenging times. Amazon's got a lot more suppliers. People have less money. The economy's tough right now. All those things feeding into people wanting you to do more with less, right?
Mm,
I mean, AI couldn't have come out at a better time.
right. How do you sort it out, like what to look at in AI? Because I think there's a lot out there that people are looking at that just isn't
Yeah.
even
I
real,
mean,
right? Like some of it is not real. And like people are purporting to do things that like, hey, in 10 minutes you can do XYZ, but it's not necessarily true. And you can go down the
isn't that
rabbit
the
hole.
truth? I
How
mean,
do you sort it out,
we
Bryson?
haven't really been going, I mean, I don't want to speak for my whole company when I talk about this, but on my team, it was mostly by referral as far as which tools should we use, right? And of course, we're using Chat GPT. We're using it for lots of things.
Mm,
It's kind of like the gold standard for chat, at least originally. I know Claude's pretty solid too. The one I've been leaning towards recently has been GenSpark, which uses
mhm,
a multitude of those. The thing I like about GenSpark specifically is it's kind of it's like it's agentic, right? So
mhm.
they have what they call a super agent. You tell it what you want, and it appropriately allocates the task to various GPTs based on what you've asked it for. So I can build a deck in 15 minutes.
Wow.
I can ask it to do an analysis with me, and it's pretty good at data analysis, as good, if not better than ChatGPT. But then I can say, okay, I need to turn this into a 3 slide deck. This is my audience. This is whatever. And here's some general guidelines. And the deck work it does and the visuals it does is significantly better than ChatGPT. So I've been using that for a lot of client service sort of interactions where I have to turn a large amount of data into a reasonably good looking
Presentation.
deck,
Right.
because you don't have to go chat GPT to do the analysis. I'm going to forget the name of the image creator one off the top of my head
Like
now.
a nano banana or one
Yeah.
of
Yeah. Actually,
the,
GenSpark links up with Banana, but that one's actually pretty good. But
yeah.
anyway, you don't have to go GPT to GPT on your own and
Uh,
have 10 different logins. I still do use chat for some specific items. And then I use GenSpark for basically any creative that I want to do. I mean, I'm an accountant and a sales guy. I am not a designer. You don't want me in Adobe.
how do you use it with creative? How do you see AI in terms of creative?
I use it more for I don't use it for actually, I have used it for some more formulaic stuff. So
Mhm.
Amazon's got a lot looser lately as far as main image requirements.
Right.
So back in the day, it was white background product. That's it. Now it's what I call the inside outside picture. You can show what's inside the package and what's outside the package in the same spot. You'll see vitamins sitting next to the bottle, or you'll see the cap for
Yeah, much more
those kind of
effective.
things.
Yeah, much
And
more
then
effective in terms
yeah,
of
and
performance.
absolutely. I actually have a funny story about gummy bear brand here. I'll tell you in just a second. But now they've started letting you kind of put in. Let's stick with vitamins for a second. Let's say
Mm,
they're chewables and they're orange flavored. You can have a little slice of an orange sitting like next to
right.
it in the main image. So coming all the way back to the question you asked me, formulaic stuff like that, where I can say, take this, put an orange slice next to the lower left corner of this and make it still Amazon appropriate in size and have
You
a
will
white
do that
background.
actually for
Oh yeah.
clients? You will.
Will we do it for
Yeah.
clients?
I'm
Yeah.
saying,
So for the most part, any image generation is not in a traditional scope for us. We have a whole media agency
right.
and we have like retainers that we do for some clients. We have ad hoc, projects we do for some clients. Small a little thing like that, we usually
Mhm.
just,
Oh, you
we
just
try
pop
to
it in and see that.
yeah, and we partner with it. Most of our contracts are we win if they win, right? It's
Right, right. You're working
so
with
we're
that
gonna do
plan.
little things for them, but if you said, "Hey, I have 500 items and I wanna completely
Right,
redo
right.
the main images," like, it's not normally in
Oh, it's
scope, but
impressive that you get to that level of detail even to pitch in, and with these clients, I think that's probably much appreciated, right? So you're in there and
yeah.
sort of optimizing for them something on the fly that they need instead of having to kinda hand off and say, "Okay, I'll take care of this for you." I guess that's part of the client success
Yeah, I
role. How
think
you take
that's
it to the next level.
MPG sits in a kind of a in-between spot between your traditional brokerage firms like Acosta, right? Where
Mhm.
it's like a large retail broker. You're kind of one of a million
Right.
clients, and you just hope that they get you a meeting. And then on the other side, you have the like full digital agencies, right? Like the flywheels and the patterns, and
Right. You guys
the
do both, really, both
yeah.
channels,
And
right?
we kind of sit in the middle and like to think that we're white gloves and a part of your team and have an intimate relationship with our clients and are invested in their success. Like our contracts are built that way too. But at the scale to where you can kind of get the benefits of, what you mentioned, like, $2 billion. It's not like I have
Yeah.
the backbone to Amazon, but for
Yeah.
anyone starting a brand new seller account, I do have someone I call and I say, hey, Megan, I
Yeah.
got this new seller account going up. Can you make sure that X, Y, and Z goes good? So it's nice to be in the middle
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got the strength there. And talking about that in terms of Amazon and like 1P or 3P, which is better, let's dig into that a little bit
Yeah.
and what your thoughts are and what you can share with everybody today
Yeah.
on their approach.
It's something we get asked a lot,
Mhm.
and not necessarily which is better. I mean, I'm sure you've seen this post on LinkedIn 1,000 times. Everyone's got an opinion, and usually their opinions are right. It's just right without the context, right? So, like, you know, Amazon recently did a call of almost all of their 1P brands that were under 10 million P vendors, excuse me, that were under $10 million. There's definitely plenty of them left out there. We have a handful of clients that are, six, seven, $8 million brands selling through Amazon Vendor Central. But going back to what we talked about from COVID, right? They were taking vendor applications from everybody back then just to make sure that they were supplying any product they could at that time. And then they ended up with way too many, not enough supply chain, and started kicking people out to go 3P.
Right.
Now, usually when I do a 3P, 1P analysis, it's a relatively basic process. It's just taking Amazon's FBA calculator and looking at the price of the product, looking at the size of the product, how much it would take to ship the product, and then comparing it to a relatively standard percentage agreement with Amazon on the 1P side. Now,
Right.
this process isn't even worth doing if you're 3P already, because you can't call Amazon and say, hey, I want a vendor agreement. It's really only a worthwhile process if you're a 1P seller and you want to know, like, would it be worth it for me to move 3P and start making the retail dollars instead of the wholesale dollars? So,
Mhm.
so that's really the decision you have to make. On the one piece side, I mean, that's how I learned to Amazon. So I'm a little bit biased,
Right.
but I feel like it's super clean. There's a few chargebacks here and
Mhm.
there, but you don't end up with all the Amazon fees and you don't have to manage your inventory. All you do is process POs and market, right?
Like,
Like your
right.
job's to sell the product and fill POs. On the
Mhm.
3P side, it's the opposite, but you have way more control, right? You control your inventory, you control your price as much as you can.
Right.
You can control when you send products in. And you have a lot more freedom on the 3P side,
Is
and
it
you
a
get the
volume
retail
level that
price,
you'd
right?
recommend? One volume over the other, or really it's unique by
No, actually, this has come up a few times recently where people have said, like, well, doesn't Amazon sell more if they're on a one, if you're a 1P vendor? And in my experience, the answer is no, because you still have to drive demand. Amazon doesn't sell the product, people buy the product, right? So,
Mhm.
are there a few merchandising locations that maybe only go to 1P sellers? I'd say that's probably true, but I don't think it's impactful enough to put it into your decision making. Like at the end of the day, if you can get someone to pick it up off the shelf and buy it, that's how you win. They don't give the buy
That's
box.
important to know, right? The
Yeah,
idea that it's not necessarily 1P over 3P, there really isn't a super advantage if Amazon is selling it. It it's not necessarily true, right? You should keep in mind, if you've got a great product that really moves, you can go either way, and you've gotta
yeah,
look at the math and look at the P&L and L and say, "Okay, what's gonna be best for our company?"
yeah. And on the 3P side, the where you get caught up is you lose. You don't. What am I trying to say? You start losing profit when you have large cube or or your weight's too high and your price is so low. You price yourself out of profitability, right? And so, what a lot of 3P sellers, especially again back to vitamins, if you want to be
Right,
price competitive or something, so you have a $10 vitamin. Most 3P sellers these days are making 2 packs. Maybe do the 1 pack available at a slightly higher price and get a discount on the 2 pack or something to
right.
encourage them to buy the 2 pack because I mean some products even need 3, 4 packs.
Yeah, you can't do it. A $10 sale is tough. Tough to
Yeah.
make them back work at the end of the day, right?
Well, it's like selling bottled water or peanut butter right now. I
Yeah,
mean, it's crazy how inefficient those things are
yeah.
to sell because the price point's so low, but the weight is high in comparison and it makes it for tough. You almost
I
have to
think
sell in
people
bulk.
should be aware of that when they get on Amazon, especially in CPG, to think about like what that price point is and what the weight of that product is and to understand the feasibility. And if they don't go in multi-packing out of the gate, they probably shoot themselves in the foot
Yeah.
because
One
they're
thing
not
you just
thinking about
mentioned right
average
there
order value.
that I don't know if you meant to, but I think is extremely important for anyone that's brand new to Amazon or to retail in general is there is no longer really channel pricing strategies
Mhm.
because price scraping is so instantaneous these days. You almost have to have a national pricing strategy.
Almost like a map, right?
Yeah, almost like like everyone's gonna sell it for the same price because they're gonna all sell it for the same price anyway. So you don't want to
Mhm.
sell in over here lower or higher, excuse me, and then have them come back to you and be like, why am I not getting the margin that they're getting or whatever that might be. So pricing is so important these days and needs to be thought out of well in advance. And
I
yeah,
see that
because
too. Lots of manufacturers sometimes already have distribution channels out there, and suddenly they're up on Amazon, and now they haven't controlled pricing, and then they're in, and it's a big issue. Now the brand suddenly is
um,
trying to grab back and manage pricing at a later date and say, like, we really don't need you to sell our product on Amazon. We are the brand, and then that
yeah,
becomes channel conflict, and well, we've been there, right? We've been there and seen that. And
yeah,
I think at the end of the day, the consumer decides where they're going to buy and what they're going to do. But if you don't control pricing, I think it's a huge mistake that even new brands go out with. Like they're not thinking about that strategy. And I certainly highly recommend that as well. That you go in with a price strategy and you try to control it as best you can so that it doesn't end up to be the Wild West.
Exactly.
for sure. And talking about Amazon selling, let's talk about that the annual vendor negotiations that a lot of these brands go through and what they're really looking for, right? When they send that sort of kickoff
Yeah.
email vendors.
It's that time of year. Actually, it's Amazon was very late this year. There's two times a year that Amazon usually sends the letters. It's usually in October for the January renewals, or it's in January for the March renewals. Is the typical time that they like to renegotiate their vendor terms. I've been helping brands ever since I started working at MPG. I did the Decent Watson renewals when I was there for the 3 or 4 years, but been continuing helping them for the last 3 or 4 year. And I have seen a large shift since Jassy took over into profitability, and it's become a lot more difficult. What Amazon's really looking for at the end of the day is a quick
Margin.
close and a couple points,
Yeah.
right? And
It's like
so,
Walmart was
yeah,
10, 20 years ago, right? Every year it's going to be a little bit of shaving off a few points where they can pick it up.
yeah. And so you got to figure out where you're willing to give
Hmm.
and what spots you can maybe give them a win, uh, I'm air quoting win, because sometimes you can give them a win in something that's not really going to cost you very much. And I'm just going
That's
to,
great advice. That's great
yeah.
advice.
Um, let's say the pallet program. They're hitting everybody with the pallet program right now, which is where basically Amazon says, you give us this list of basins, we'll always order them in pallets, supposedly, and you give us 2 points off anything we send in through that vendor code. Well, you can walk them back down to, a point, maybe instead of 2 points. And you can also make that list really small, right? So the vendor manager still gets to go back and say, hey, I got them enrolled in the pallet program. Let's say even if they put all of those 10 ASINs through the pallet program for the next year, it'll cost you 20K. Well,
Right.
that's a lot better than the K for this other program or something.
Right. Very smart.
Yeah.
So your recommendation is number one, of course, give yourself some room for negotiation, but even more so, see how you can get creative so that, that person that's managing it can go back with some wins because they're going to need it to take it to their boss, basically.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
mean,
gotta look right, like I've won this, right? So you've gotta think about their position as well to negotiate that well. That means you've got their back somewhat. Okay, I understand you're here to negotiate. Let's find a happy medium that satisfies both our needs.
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
That's great advice.
the unfortunate thing about the position that the vendor managers get put in sometimes is oftentimes, they have 1 to 2 years on the job. Maybe they've just been promoted from another position. Amazon rotates their people every 12 to 24 months, somewhere in there. And so they could be fresh and they don't know your business. They're just given metrics that they have to hit based on X, Y, and Z, go negotiate, right? And even if they've been there for a year, like what do they really know about what you have going on, right? So making them feel like you want to partner with them and giving them an opportunity for a win can really get them on side. And, there's been plenty of times where they overshare and help you navigate through the negotiation a little bit better.
I think that's great advice, and to think about that in negotiation that you want to create a win-win strategy, especially when you're dealing with that person. Right? Like I said, they have to report to somebody else. They have a directive. You need to find
Yeah.
that balance that lets them meet the directive, but not really kill your margins, right? Like, so you have no profit left. Something to consider.
Yeah.
And in talking about Amazon, on the marketing creative side, plus we talk a lot about creative on this show. What kinds of marketing strategies have you used or currently using to drive sales performance across MPG? What are you seeing as trend wise across Amazon? What's working? Is anything specific that you see trend wise?
Yeah.
More use of
I would
video
say
or
I would say specific to content, personalization has been a big thing we've talked about over the last year or two. People, especially the younger, let's say 15 to 30 crowd, want to feel like a product was made for them, should feel inclusive, and it should be fun. Now, I told you I was going to tell you a gummy bear story, and this actually
yes,
fits in
yes.
really
I
well
hear
with
that.
what we're talking about right now. So we were we we represent a very large gummy bear brand on Amazon. I'm sure you've eaten them. You may even have them in your office.
Right.
Uh, and we were talking about content, and they wanted us to do an A/B test. They weren't sure if they wanted to pay for one, so we
Hmm.
said we'll just do one for free just to show you the difference, right? We wanted to show the value of a quality image versus a just standard image, and one of the options that Jenny Baker, who's our amazing director of content here at MPG, did was she had one of the images was the pack of gummy bears with six gummies standing up in front of it.
Mm.
And then they tried a couple others, like with the gummy bears kind of sideways and with them, kind of around the bag. And then one of them, all she did was do four gummy bears, and then the fifth one fell over, and then the sixth one was standing up again. So they were all in line, but one of them had toppled over. And it was just
Wow.
kind of funny, right? And
Yes.
it caught your eye because it was a little different.
Right.
That toppled over gummy bear converted almost 20% better than all the other ones.
I love that I love that story, and, I see this, so, like, day in, day out. Like, we don't do content for pages. We're strictly video performance, but I work with others in that field, and I have seen monumental differences when the photographs are right. I mean, sometimes, as you mentioned it, I think earlier before, sometimes showing the vitamins itself with the outer box next to it as a companion
Yeah.
actually outperforms much better than just the bottle alone, or having that little slice of orange next to it or indicating flavor. But that
Yeah.
one's interesting because, like, this is kind of like there's a little bit of a humor to it, like one gummy bear
Exactly.
is actually down, which is even things that people don't think about. They're looking at sort of the imperfection that's helped that. So that's an
Right.
amazing, little tip that sometimes the imperfection of something fun psychologically can kind of change how that person views it, and maybe there's
Exactly.
some
Yeah.
humor behind this brand, right? And made it more relatable,
Yeah.
in a sense.
And that's one thing that I constantly am telling clients too. Like, I may not be the most creative guy, and I might not come up with the best ideas, but even if I had my own brand and I had to do all the content myself, I would be doing A/B tests constantly of just different stuff, even if I had to use AI to do it. You know what I mean? But it's like whatever you have, there's something that could be slightly better. So you should always be testing, and you'll learn, oh, people don't like gummy bears laying down, or they really like them laying down. And now I should do that on my other products, and maybe I'll try two of them laying down. You know what I mean? Like there should always be some
100%.
sort of test and learn going on.
100% agree. 100% agree. And when it comes to video, what are you seeing in terms of video trends? I know that Amazon is pushing video very hard this year. They've launched late in 25 sponsored product videos, which is one angle, but they are also added on AI tools to video. We're seeing a lot of talk about fatigue in video too, that lots of brands are not recognizing that actually videos have to be swapped out or actually edited. Do you use a lot of video across accounts? Do you recommend it? And you know what?
I would say, I mean, I definitely recommend having, at least one video in the product carousel for sure. I've seen some really interesting premium A plus showing up lately with more like GIF type images, or I guess GIF type images would be the best way to say it, where it kind of adds some liveliness to it. I think some of that's beta though. I haven't seen it like rolled out to all of our clients, and I some of it gets stuck in premium beauty for a while too. Premium beauty brands get some pretty fancy stuff on their pages before everyone else. But I would say that in general, some of the standards still hold true. On Amazon, you don't want like 15 seconds is kind of the best. 30
Or
seconds is,
sponsored brand, yeah,
yeah,
sponsored brand videos, 15 seconds.
yeah. Just keeping it, short and to the point. Make sure that it says what you want it to say fast
Mhm.
enough. But I would say similar to what we were talking about for the images, inclusivity, but feeling it's kind of weird to say like it should feel tailored for me, but be inclusive of everybody. But I think you get what I mean, right? Like should people just want the products to speak to them, and they want to feel um, they want less models and more.
Yeah.
Instagram creators. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
want it to feel like my next door neighbor is the one that's making the video, not a professional studio, is
I
kind of
think what we
my
see
feed.
on Amazon, what we're seeing success on. So for display, certainly more UGC style, focusing in on that real person, authenticity, solving a problem. For brand video, more about the specific benefit feature as quickly as possible
Mhm.
to get to it. And on the PDP page, again, more about like I want to know the feature sets and I want to know that it looks right. Like the professional video a little bit more. It's not spending a fortune, but then all of that's could have got to be tested, A/B tested, and put challengers. And then what we find in each month, we actually want to test challengers and keep optimizing for better ROAS.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, we're talking about A/B testing. You might even want to just A/B test the order of your images, right? Like you have six for a reason.
Yes.
And like you were talking about for video, getting your reasons to buy up in front. I was just setting up an A/B test for one of our clients today where they had the nutritional fact panel was number two image, and we moved that all the way to the end and moved their really good looking reason to buy slide all the way up to number two. And so I'm excited to see how that does. It's simple things like that.
We've seen a lot of good results from that when those are moved around, especially when you've got those image slots there that everyone actually speaks to a very specific core benefit, as opposed to
Yeah.
just general sort of image, right? Of course, if
Yeah.
it's a
Lifestyle
supplement,
images are kind of passe at this point,
yeah,
right?
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah. Well, as we start to wrap up, anything coming up new this year that they're excited about? Any new changes?
Well,
Anything you'd like to
I've
share?
we're talking to Amazon and data analytics specifically. Amazon's Seller Central launched a what's called a custom analytics dashboard recently that has been extremely helpful, especially for anyone that is either running a business on their own or can't afford a fancy tool or anything like that to do call them medium to deep dive analysis of product performance and coupon and promotional performance, which used to be impossible to aggregate on Amazon. And dig into your sales data, subscribe and save performance. Like I'm excited at where Amazon's taking data, and I'm interested. I don't know if I'm excited because Amazon can really make a mess out of things sometimes, but but I'm interested to see how they integrate AI into their support workflow. Supposedly, it's already happening, and I know there's some support companies out there that are actually building an AI to talk to Amazon's AI, so that you tell your AI what you want it to do, and it says all the right things back and forth to get your thing done and saves you a bunch of time.
As long
It's
as everyone's
really
employed, we're
interesting,
happy. As long as there's anybody left to do anything.
right? You just have to manage the robots managing your
Have
business.
to manage the robots,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, this has been wonderful, Bryson. I really appreciate you coming on, and you've got a tremendous amount of experience, and hopefully, there's lots of people can learn from you working with all these major brands and having that background. So I'm sure it's going to be very helpful. So thanks for
Yeah,
coming on today. Really
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me.
Same here.